Hi Year 9, so this is just a quick video tutorial to remind you about a couple of the features that we have done in lessons, and that is making clones of an object and also changing levels. Okay, so I'm just going to take you through some really basics in Scratch. I'm also going to cover manipulating a character using the arrows. I'm going to also create a score system for my game. So my game, the premise of it is that the apples are going to fall from the top of the screen, and the magic wand here is going to be controlled by my left and right arrows, and the user has to move the magic wand to the left and the right in order to catch the apples, and every apple I catch, my score is going to go up by 1. And then when I reach 10 or above 10 in score, my level is then going to change as well. So the first things first is I've got the sprites that I want. I've got the apples and the magic wand. As I change levels, I might want to introduce more sprites, but for the moment this is what I'm going to start with. And I'm going to have the codes for my magic wand first. So my magic wand is going to be controlled using my arrows, left and right key. I don't want it to move up and down at all, so I'm only going to have 2 options for right arrow and left arrow. And the motion is it's going to change its X position. Y position is up and down, X position is side to side. So it's going to change its X position. So when it hits the right arrow, it's going to change its X position by 10. In order to move backwards, when it hits the left arrow, it's going to change its X position by -10. So now my magic wand is controlled by my keyboard. Okay. Then into the apple. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a situation whereby the apple is going to become a clone. Okay, so at the beginning of the game, when the green flag is clicked, I am going to choose that this clone is going to, the apple is going to clone itself 20 times. So the instruction of make a clone I'm going to repeat. So this is a control, it's a repeat. So I'm going to have 20 different apples, or you could have 30 apples or 40 apples or 50 apples, depending upon how many apples you want to be able to drop from the ceiling. If you want the game to last for a considerable amount of time, then add 1,000 apples or so on and so forth, because obviously it will then depend upon as they go through levels. So for the moment I'm just going to add 20 apples, so to repeat 20 times. And I'm going to be using the instruction create clone of myself. Okay, now this instruction here, I don't want the clones to just appear one after the other after the other after the other. I want there to be a little bit of a gap in between, so I'm going to put in a wait as well, but I also don't want it to be so specifically organised that they fall in exactly 1 second intervals. So I'm also going to use the pick random, which is a type of operator, to change the wait 1 second to a wait 0.2 seconds to 1.5 seconds and create clone of myself. Okay, so now 20 times over a 20 cycle period, the apple will wait a random 0.2 to 1.5 seconds and then create a clone of itself. Okay, then the next instruction is for me to control the clone. Okay, so the clone is going to be over here when I start as a clone. So each clone is going to do the same thing. When it starts as a clone, the first thing it's going to do is it's going to disappear. It's going to hide itself, so I can't see it immediately, in order for it to pick a location up at the very top to fall from. So I want my apples to choose a random point along this line. That means that their Y position is always the same. Their Y position is going to be 220 because that's the top of my screen. But the X position is going to change between -190 all the way to +190. So this is going to enable the movement to change. So first of all, when I start as clone, then I'm going to have a go to. Okay, and my go to is always going to be the same Y position. Okay, so it's always going to be at the top of the screen. So it's Y 190 and X pick random between minus 220 and 220. Okay, so that's always at the top of the screen, but somewhere along this line. So if you wanted to build a clone whereby things were coming at you from the right-hand side of the screen towards an object on the left, then you would need to alternate whether it was the X or the Y variable that was able to change. Okay, so here we have this random changes. And then I'm going to choose the process of repeat until. Okay. So repeat until, this is going to be the movement. The movement is going to repeat until such times as the apple reaches the bottom of the page or touches the magic wand. So my repeat until is actually going to be repeat until my X position, Y position, let's see, Y position just here, repeat until Y position is less than minus 190. So that means that the instruction below is going to continue to repeat until such times as the Y position of the clone has reached less than minus 190, or in other words, that the clone has got to the bottom of the page. And what it's going to repeat is it's going to consistently repeat of changing its Y by minus 5. So that means it's going to fall. It's going to change its Y position by minus 5 over and over and over again until such times as it has reached a Y position of less than 190 from the current Y position that it's in. So what should happen now is if I press play, my clones will appear randomly across the top screen here and should fall until such times as they get to the bottom of the screen. So let's have a go. Now nothing happens. Now the reason nothing happens is because I have this instruction here in my screen. I need to show my clone after it is hidden. The reason I've hidden it is so that it can choose a random position without looking like it's moving about up at the top here. So what I want to do is I want to hide, then go to the random position and then show. Okay, hide, go to random position, then show, and then repeat this process until it falls. So now my apples are randomly falling to the bottom of the screen. Lovely. Okay, so I'm going to stop that now. Okay, so in this loop, repeat until the X position is less than 90, I'm going to have the incidence whereby if the apple is touching the magic wand, then, if the apple is touching the magic wand, then I want the score to change by 1, so I need to make a score. I need that apple to hide, so it's not going to fall through the magic wand, and it's going to delete that clone as well. So the first thing I'm going to go is pop into data and make a variable for my score. There we go, so there's my score, and I want to change score by 1. So I want the score to go up by 1. Then I want to hide my apple. And then I also want to delete that clone. Okay, now this is going to mean that as the game plays, my score is going to increase as I collect the apples. At the start of every game, I always want my score to start at 0, so I'm going to add another instruction right up here as the top when I start as a clone, or when the green flag is clicked, to say actually set the score to 0 before we go into the rest of the game. So that will happen when the green flag is clicked before anything else happens. And then as the game continues, my score changes by 1. Now, this means that the apple will fall until it reaches minus 190 on its Y position. If it touches the magic wand, then the score will change by 1, then it'll hide, and then it'll delete the clone. But if it doesn't touch the magic wand, if it continues to fall and to the bottom of the screen without touching the magic wand, the apple will just sit at the bottom of the screen like this, and I don't want that. I want those to delete as well. So I'm again going to add the instruction to delete this clone. Okay, so again I press go, and now what will happen? You can see by my score over in the left hand side that as I collect my apples, my score changes. The apples are also deleting. Now, it's interesting because I still have this lone apple down here. That's not gone anywhere. And the reason that is because this is not a clone. This is the original apple. So the original apple just sits on the screen. It's not doing anything. It's not moving at all because it's when the clones begin that are moving. So I'm actually going to hide the original apple. Therefore, only the clones will be shown. So I'm going to hide the original apple. Now, when we press play, the original apple has disappeared, but the clones are still visible. Okay, so at this stage we've got a score and we've got working clones with the magic wand being controlled by the left and the right arrows. Still to come up is changing levels, so we'll show you that in the next video.